Hello to everyone and those in the Kingsfield community. I'm Jack, and I've compiled 5 things you did not know about Kingsfield 1U2J. I know for a fact you won't know all of these, and I'm very excited to finally reveal these to you. It's taken me a long while to get this done, as a lot has happened in my real life. I've gotten married and I've even had a child. But not a day has gone by that I haven't been thinking about Kingsfield in some way. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I also hope that everyone has been well. Number 5. A pal in need is a pal indeed. Starting off this list is something that may be a mystery to most, unless of course you grew up in the PAL regions of the world. That includes primarily Europe, Australia, Brazil, and regions of Africa and Asia. This version of the game came out 10 months after the US version and 17 months after the original Japanese release. In that time, some revisions and changes were implemented. Mostly small, but a huge difference that we want to point out is the frame rate. The PAL version of Kingsfield 1.2J actually boasts a more stable frame rate. They achieved this by reducing the maximum FPS allowed in the game, therefore the majority of the playthrough feels smoother, with reduced moments of the game speed spiking. This then makes the PAL version noticeably slower than every other version, as you can see here. This also may be due in part to the PAL TVs running at 50Hz as opposed to the US Japan televisions going at 60Hz. Either way, some consider this the definitive or true way of playing the game. Though it can be debated, there's no denying it's worth checking out. But the leaping speeds of the non-PAL version holds nostalgia for a lot, and that's okay. Number 4. A boost to your journey through Millenat. If you've ever played this game, you've absolutely come across many of the bridges that separate the player from progressing further, especially when the switch is on the other side and you can't figure out how to reach it. A lot of the times it's just that simple, find the switch and cross. Of course you'd be battling enemies while attempting to achieve this. At lower levels, anything can almost one-shot you, so to say it's a frustration is an understatement. There is also another way of crossing too, like using certain key items that will erect a bridge out of thin air. However, there is another way, a secret way, a very unknown way of crossing these bridged gaps that requires a certain skill and patience to achieve. That is, the ability to run directly over them. That's right, you can skip the hassle of flipping the switch or finding an item for a bridge by crossing them. But it's not that simple, of course. You have to perform what has been coined by the community a straight boost, or wall boost. From what has been gathered and researched, in order to straight boost, your character has to be perfectly parallel to the wall and facing forward while hugging said wall. It takes some calibration, trial and error, but when this is achieved, you see your character shoot forward, not at lightning speed, but much faster than is typical. This speed and momentum will allow you to cross the gap, typically needing a bridge. This is useful in a lot of ways, but does take practice and a tiny bit of luck too. I must say, this is one of my favorite tricks in the game, and it's also worth mentioning this does work on Kingsfield 2U3J as well, the sequel to our beloved Kingsfield 1U2J. It actually makes a bigger difference in the sequel simply because of how much slower the overall game is, and the boost really vaults you forward. Though, no great use has been made in 2U3J except covering larger distances faster. Number 3. Oops. I broke it. The previously mentioned wall boost is a great mechanic that was discovered much later in the game's life, but in my opinion, it's not so much glitch as it is an exploit, and more so takes the mechanics the game already implements and tweaks them to the player's advantage, and does it in a way that doesn't tarnish the game's fun factor. If dying constantly and forgetting to save, thus losing great amounts of progress, is what you consider fun. But Kingsfield 1.2J does not disappoint in that department even still, aside from the straight boosts. The game is littered with so many glitches and out of bounds, it even allows the game to be beaten in under 14 minutes. Though doing so is not an easy feat. The good news is I've made videos on many of the game's glitches and they cover the information and the how-to much better and in-depth in detail. There's an out of bounds in the small mines that allows you to access typically unreachable areas till later in the game. It also lets you get some Seath armor pieces reserved for much later in the game. Hell, you can even fall into an area typically meant to not be seen. The small mines out of bounds is a great tool to getting super strong early on. Pretty much any spot that has a trapdoor falling downward can be used to fall out of bounds, thanks to runner Modal for finding and perfecting its use. But the daddy of them all, the greatest glitch you'll ever encounter in this game, the load zone glitch, or as I call it, the "what the hell have I done" glitch. By saving at certain spots and crossing load zones at certain areas in the game, you can push yourself out of bounds and cross areas that typically are locked or just too strong to push through. Exactly how this works and how to set it up is a bit complex, or at least more so than I'm able to explain here, but I've made a video on this glitch in its entirety and I must say it's absolutely game breaking. It allows you to skip the Colosseum battles, Necron, and move right on to Gyra. However, defeating Gyra once getting there is a whole other triumph in itself. Huge shout out for Japanese runner Kuroto for discovering this glitch and through their trial and error finding its most useful areas of use. I love this glitch, and I think it gave new life to the game in a way that never existed before. But be warned, it'll absolutely make a mockery of this game.
Oh my god. I have no idea what happened. I thought I was dead. Congratulations, you fucked up everything.
Number 2, Close to Home. There aren't many Easter eggs in the Kingsfield series, so whenever one pops up, it surely is something to behold. On the 4th of July of 2020, I was streaming Kingsfield. I had just swapped over to my Fat Metal PS2 as I was testing the different speeds of the game on different hardwares. Upon booting the game and progressing to the menu, this happened. Hold on. Why is it showing this menu? Isn't this the 1J menu? Am I crazy? I couldn't believe it. I was looking at the game's Japanese menu on an American disc of the game. It puzzled me for a few minutes until it hit me that it actually happened. But how? I would post this in my Discord, upload the occurrence to my YouTube channel as well as the full stream it had happened on, unlisted it in the description of said video. An individual named Ivan DSM DM'd me on Discord with an explanation. Well, at least maybe to someone who understands the game's code. He showed me this. Luckily, he gave a brief explanation as to what it was saying, and we discovered that if you press and hold the 4 face buttons on the PS1 controller, triangle, cross, square, and circle, all at the same time, it causes the Japanese title screen to emerge. Though it must be stated, you have to hold those face buttons after the intro begins on the game, and you must release them before the title screen appears. So just for a second or two. Here's a demonstration of it working. You can see my button notations on the side. Also worth mentioning, you can reveal this Easter egg by going to the in-game menu and quitting out to the main menu, though the timing is a lot more strict. I think this is the coolest Easter egg I have ever seen or found. As I tend to fidget with the controller while the game loads, it's pretty funny how it came to be discovered. Specifically because it's the only one I've ever found, and thanks to Ivan for helping me understand. Also, for those who don't know, Ivan is the one who made the Kingsfield 1U2J randomizer tool, which I've made a video outlining where to download that and how to set it up. They're amazing. Thanks, Ivan. This will always hold a special place in my heart as I was genuinely blown away when it happened, and equally as astonished when it was figured out by digging through the game's code. This was unknown up until the posting of this video. Number 1. Insight for the Moonlight. As we approach the end of this video, I decided to save what I believe to be the greatest for last. On December 29th of 2021, I had the honor of speaking to Kingsfield 1, Kingsfield 2, and Kingsfield 3 Japan's lead programmer, as well as the lead programmer on the original Armored Core game and Armored Core Project Phantasma, Aichi Hasegawa. Over a period of about a month, he answered many of my questions about the games that I had posed, as well as questions asked by fans in the comments of a video I posted to my YouTube. This is a video I plan on releasing very soon, as it's long overdue, but one of the things he relayed to me was the origins of the Moonlight Sword resting behind Gaira at the end of the game. When asked if the Moonlight Sword was intended to be picked up, he replied, "Yes. I thought that only those who know should get the Moonlight Sword and defeat the boss monster. Most people at the company thought they wouldn't notice. Actually, I wanted to attack by riding on the back of a boss monster. Later, Wanda and the Colossus were riding on the boss monsters and clinging to them. I wanted to do that, but I didn't have the skills to do it." This, of course, is referencing the protagonist of the game, Shadow of the Colossus. He then finished the topic by admittingly saying, "That's excellent. I did it in an invisible state and debugging, but I have never done it in normal play," when referencing grabbing the Moonlight Sword behind Gaira. He stated that the intended route for doing so was to walk around Gaira and not through and over, as most people have seen it done. This is true, as myself and runner named Bry Petrowski actually did discover a way to get around Gaira by walking around him. Granted, he needs to be turned a certain direction during an animation. Nonetheless, the insight direction from the game's lead programmer really opened my eyes to the many things yet to be discovered. As stated before, I will be working on the lead programmer AMA and will be going over all the questions he answered. He seemed very busy and wasn't able to respond to all, but he absolutely was amazing in giving me his time in the span he did. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I really enjoyed getting it all together. It's something I'm not quite used to yet still, but I'm squeezing in the time to do so. I'm sorry I've been so absent lately, as my real life has really taken off. I love this community, and I'll always want to share what I know of the games and bring love for Kingsfield to new people. Until next time, I am Jacked, and you all are amazing. Kingsfield will live on forever.